Hello guys, welcome back. So in this lecture, we are going to talk about how can you configure PyCharm and start writing your tests. So PyCharm has a really good integration with the testing frameworks and it makes the life of developers a lot easier. So we are going to see how in this lecture. So let's get started. So I am on this project called PyCharm course. So I have different directories here, right? And under these directories, I have my Python code. Now, ideal way of organizing the project would be to have source code under one package and tests under a separate folder. So what I'll do is under this functions, I'll create a new package called app, right? And this is where I'll have all my source code exist. So I'll move all this source code over here. So you can see, you can drag drop it to the folder and it will ask me refactor. So I'll just select that. And over here, I'll add one more package called test. So this is the folder wherein you are going to have all your tests exist. And you can see over here, the moment I'm adding a new file, PyCharm is asking me whether I want to add that file to Git. So I can choose to cancel or to add. So I'll choose cancel. I'll add it later manually. So you can see this is a structure now that we have added. Okay. So I've added this structure because I have multiple packages here. Okay. So what you can even do is you can even create a app folder over here at the root level. And you can move all the modules inside. So all the packages you can move inside and then you can have a test folder. Okay. So that is also a way of doing this. Okay, but I have done it this way. So I have this app folder here, right? And a test and all the tests I'll be writing over here, right? So now, since I have organized my folder structure, I would want to configure the testing framework onto my PyCharm. So for that, I'll be going to preferences. In preferences, you are going to see this option called tools. So you have to expand this tools and you have to go over here on Python integrated tools. Now over here, you'll see this section called testing, and under testing, you'll see your option default test runner. So these are the different testing frameworks that you have with PyCharm. Okay. So PyCharm offers integration with these testing frameworks, and unit test and PyTest are majorly used, with PyTest being the popular. So you can either select unit test if you want, or you can select PyTest or the other two options. So I'll just select PyTest over here, right? And I'll hit apply. So don't forget to click the apply button. If you just press OK, the changes won't be implemented. So I'll just say OK. So now I'm in this file called functions.py, and this is the file which has 3 functions. Right, and let's say I want to write tests for this particular function here, function 2. So there are multiple ways in which you can create your own tests. So one way is to go to generate. So what I did is I pressed command N, okay, or you can go to code and you'll have an option here called generate. You can see the shortcut here. It will appear for Windows and Linux if you are on a different operating system. But yeah, you need to go to generate and you'll see an option on what you want to generate. So you can either generate a test or a copyright. So I'll select test, right? And you can see this pop up here. So this is one way of generating a test. Another way is by pressing Command Shift and T on Mac machine. So I have to just take my caret to the function and I have to press Command Shift and T. Okay, it's Control Shift and T for Windows and Linux, right? So you can see this option here, create a new test, right? So what this option does is, if you have a test already written for that particular function, it will simply take you to that function, or it will simply take you to that test. If you don't have a test written, so it will ask you to create one. So this is the power of this shortcut here, Command Shift T. So I'll just press this and I'll hit enter. You can see the same pop-up coming up over here, which is asking me to create a test. Now you can see PyCharm has already pre-populated the name of the test file. So as per the convention, all the test files should have a prefix of test underscore, and the test name should be, or the file name should be equal to test underscore the module name. So the file name is function.py, so it's test underscore functions.py. Also, you may note over here that it's showing us the target directory, which you can change from here by clicking on this icon. But one thing to make a note over here is it has already picked up our test directory. So PyCharm is smart enough to know that you have created a test directory and you want all the tests to reside over there. So it's smart enough that way. And it's asking us on which function do you want in the new file that is being created, test underscore functions. So I can uncheck or I can keep it checked, and I'll say OK. The moment I say OK, I'm being asked if I want to add this file to Git. So I can just check this don't ask again, and I'll say cancel. Okay, I'll add it later manually. So you can see we have this test file created here, and it's under test folder. Okay, now we have some boilerplate code over here. So we have one assert statement here, which says assert false. So I'll now show you how you can run your tests. So beside the test that you have written, you can see this green icon, which signals run. So you can click on this and you can select run PyTest for test function. So I'll just hit this. Okay. So we are getting an error here. So it says no module named PyTest. Okay, so it's telling us that PyTest is not yet installed in this project. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to go to the terminal, right? And I can write pip install PyTest, and I'll hit enter. So it will take some time. It will download all the packages and it will give you a success message here, successfully installed. You can see over here, right? And now I'll try to run this. Okay. Okay, so the test got executed successfully. Okay, I'll just expand this so that we have a better view here. So you can see this is the console of your execution, wherein you are seeing all the error messages. So you can see this particular test has failed. Okay, so this was a test name and this is the file name, and the status is failed, and you can see why it failed. It's also showing you because you have written assert false, and yes, it's bound to fail. Okay, because you have written assert false. And on the left hand side you can see this pane, and you are seeing the test results over here, right? So you have test results, you can see the test functions, and you have the test function 2 over here. Okay, this has failed, assertion failure, if you hover on this. Now one thing to note over here are the options. So you can see this option over here, you can see this another button. So this says show passed and this says show ignored. So I can just click on this and I can only see the past test cases, but there are no past, so it's not changing for me, right? And I can click on this and say show ignored. So I can filter the tests depending on the results, okay, from here itself. So these functions are pretty helpful if you have a huge project running over here. So there are lots of test cases here and you want to filter out the results, okay, to see which one passed and which one failed rather than scrolling. So that is one option. Then you have an option to rerun your last configuration from here. Okay, so I just ran this. If I want to rerun, I can just click this button here. Okay, it will rerun for me. Also, if you have executed, let's say 10 tests, and out of those 10 tests, 2 failed. So you have an option over here saying rerun failed test. So if you have a large project, okay, and if you don't want to run the entire project, okay, to test the failed test cases, what you can do is you can only run the failed test cases from here. Okay, so this option is pretty handy to save time when you are working on a large project. So let me change this to assert true. So I've changed this to assert true, right? And I'll click run over here again. Okay. So you can also run your test by right clicking and run. So this is another way of running it. Okay. So after I run it, you can see that I'm seeing this test case being passed. Okay. So let me create one more test case over here. So I'll just create 3 and I'll say assert false over here, right? So to run entire file, I'll click on anywhere in the file and I'll say run. So you can see it's running the entire file and it's showing me all the test results. Okay, here. And I have an option here. I can use this. So I can see only ignored test cases. So one was ignored or failed. So you can see that. Then I can only see the past. Okay, so this shows past. So you can use this option to show only ignored test cases or failed test cases, right? And if you click on this, you can see why it failed, right? So this is how you can work with testing frameworks in PyCharm. So PyCharm makes it really easy by giving us a very good integration and lots of options to work with testing frameworks. So these options are pretty helpful if you are doing test-driven development, okay? And they save a lot of time for you and also make your life easy. So I hope you guys enjoyed this class and found it valuable. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you.